you get to this time when you're going to retire, and I had to ask myself, are you thinking really goofy thoughts? And I realized, no, I wasn't thinking goofy thoughts. The thoughts weren't strange or odd, but I was thinking about subjects that I didn't usually think about. And lots of retrospection, and I really have to limit myself, because I've thought about so many of you in this room over and over and over again, recalling stories, recalling great times, recalling the many things we shared. But here's an example of this kind of thing that it's not goofy, but I wouldn't have had the thought before. I was reading an article in a collection of essays, and the author quoted an English translation of a Japanese haiku, and you'll see where this is going. And thanks, Harry. And here's the haiku. The old frog. Get the theme? The old frog jumped into the quiet pond. Splash. Now I don't pay attention to haiku. And I kept reading that thing and found that, I just kept going over it and over it and contemplating this old frog jumping into his quiet pond. And I found that without making any effort at all, I had memorized a little haiku. Don't get me talking about that haiku now, it'll be a bad evening. But that's the kind of stuff that your head starts to do when you get to this transition. We came to this community a long time ago. And Barb and I looked at each other after we had spent a day here, and we'd been separated, and we finally compared notes, and we said, we really like this place. These people have something going. And this community has been such a big part of our lives ever since. If you can imagine trying to find words to express your gratitude for the life within a community like ours, I don't have words for that kind of thing. That's why God invented poets. They could maybe take a crack at it. I can't express my thankfulness that I've been able to be a part of this community. We've celebrated good times together. And in bad times, like the recent disturbances in the force, we have taken up arms against the sea of trouble and have struggled against the problems, and I think happily and successfully. 42 years ago yesterday, this community gave us somebody we could place a call to on the occasion of Sean Patrick Dailey's arrival into the world. And we called Paul and Kathy Rempe so that they could hold down the... Oh, I'm sorry.
That was me.
That was Joe. I'm sorry. It was Joe. It was Sean's birthday yesterday. Joe was the guy who was born. I'm sorry. Remember the part about a bad memory? Sean was a grown-up kid by the time he got here. Oh, that's okay. The community has provided us with godparents. It's invited us to join the most important life events. The Carroll community has been gritty when grit's been needed and has been gentle when tenderness has been needed. And I really cannot begin to express fairly how grateful we are for our experience with this community. It's been so much a part of the way we raised our children, and so much a part of the way our children turned into really decent people. Langston Hughes wrote a poem called As I Grew Older, and he looked back on the dreams of his youth and the struggles to push through what he called a wall that separated him from those dreams. And at one point, the poem says this: "My hands, my dark hands, break through the wall and find my dream." And how can I express my gratitude to a community that seemed always in good times and in bad times to aspire to helping young people who were at risk of not being able to break through to their dreams? How can I express my gratitude to a community that wanted to listen to the voices of dreamers, to include the dreamers who had dark hands? How can I express my gratitude to a community that gave me the possibility of getting to know people like Tama Mkangi and Shelley Hall? How can I express my gratitude to a community that brought such people into my life, and the many, many, many wonderful colleagues and companions? When we were young professors, they would talk about the in loco parentis in a kind of a crazy academic form, and it was not something we thought very highly of. The idea was that the institution, the faculty, the staff was supposed to act as the students' parents and do what the parents would do, and usually the stuff was dredged up in disciplinary hearings, and it was not a particularly credible concept. But it strikes me that there's a different kind of in loco parentis. We have to recognize that it's really true that sometimes some of our students have lost a parent, and some of them have lost both parents. And sometimes their parents aren't functioning exactly the way we would hope they would function. And so the faculty and so the staff lives with the possibilities of helping students the way the students might wish that their parents would help them. I got a letter a while ago, an email. And it was a very moving email, and I'll skip the parts that are hard to get through, and I hope I'll get through the parts that I've selected here. But from a student: "A college education is by far the best and most enriching opportunity I have invested in. I will struggle to get through it. My own parents have neglected to believe in me. It's truly encouraging that you, among all people, have noticed my dedication and hard work, and I thank you for that." Wow, and I included this, I'll explain it. But the student wrote, I'm honored to have been a student in your class. Now that's not about me. A couple things about that statement. I inherited, and we of our generation inherited this college from those who came before us. Jean, Shirley, we think about you and the people who established this place so many decades before we got here. They gave us an ethic of dedication. They gave us an ethic of caring. Sometimes the very most important principles are not passed as content in a syllabus, are not passed on because they're written into a curriculum. They're passed within a community. And sometimes those things are passed from generation to generation. Second point, if I were to assemble a list of reminders for the next generation, for you, kid, Eric, it would include the idea that not that we should do the parenting, but that we should be ever aware of the fact that sometimes the teacher's role is to recognize that the parent's role might not have worked out as well for the student as the student might have hoped. We need to recognize that sometimes the student might need a caring confidant. How can I express my gratitude to a community that encouraged me long ago to think such thoughts. Thank you all.